You're sitting somewhere right now with nothing to do. Maybe you're waiting for something. Maybe you finished everything, and there's just nothing left. And within about 30 seconds, your hand is already moving toward your phone. You don't even decide to do it. It just happens. It's automatic. Like breathing. Now imagine that phone doesn't exist. The internet doesn't exist. Television doesn't exist. Books don't exist. Music you can play on demand doesn't exist. There is literally nothing. Just you, a fire, the dark, and the inside of your own head for the next 6 hours until the sun comes up. That was every single night for 300,000 years. And what ancient humans did with that emptiness didn't just pass the time, it accidentally built every single thing that makes us human. Let's start with something most people get completely wrong about ancient human life. The common image is constant desperate survival, hunting all day, running from predators, barely scraping together enough food to stay alive before collapsing from exhaustion at night. No time for anything else. Just survival on repeat until you died young. But that's not what the evidence shows, not even close. Anthropologists who have studied the Ju-Hoanzi Bushmen of the Kalahari Desert, one of the last groups on Earth still living something close to the original human lifestyle, found something nobody expected. These people spend an average of 12 to 19 hours per week finding food. That's it. The rest of the time is just open, unstructured, empty. 12 to 19 hours per week. Most people reading this work more than that in 2 days. Our ancestors weren't scrambling every waking moment. In good seasons, in places with decent resources, early humans had enormous amounts of unoccupied time, more free time than most modern people have experienced in their entire lives. And their brains, the exact same brains sitting in your skull right now, did not handle that emptiness quietly. So what did they actually do? The first answer is the most obvious one, and also the most underestimated. They talked, and not the kind of talking we do now, not quick messages or 5-minute check-ins or conversations squeezed between things that actually matter. Deep, unhurried, hours-long conversation with nowhere else to be and nothing else to do and no reason to wrap it up. Anthropologist Polly Weissner spent years recording conversations among the Ju-Hoanzi and found something striking. During the day, roughly 80% of conversations were practical. Who's hunting where? Which plants are ready? Logistics, work. But at night, around the fire, everything changed. 81% of nighttime conversations were stories. Tales about people in distant places, adventures that happened to someone 3 groups over, myths about how the world began, jokes that made the whole camp laugh so hard they had to catch their breath. Think about what that actually meant practically. Information about terrain nobody in your group had ever visited, warnings about dangers miles away, knowledge about other groups, their customs, their resources, their conflicts, all of it moving through stories told around a fire, by people with nothing else to do and nowhere else to be. A person who told good stories wasn't just entertaining. They were a map, a library, a warning system, a historian. Boredom turned the best talkers into the most valuable people in the entire group. The ones everyone wanted to sit near, the ones people remembered when they were gone. But talking wasn't the only thing that happened in those empty hours, because at some point, a bored human picked up a rock and scratched it against a cave wall and made a mark that is still there today. The oldest confirmed cave art is roughly 45,000 years old. A hand stencil and the outline of a pig found in a cave in Sulawesi, Indonesia. But some researchers believe symbolic markings go back much further, maybe 100,000 years, maybe more. And here's the detail that stops everyone cold when they first hear it. Many of these paintings are not near the cave entrance. They're not in places where people gathered or slept or cooked. They're in the deepest, most inaccessible parts of the cave, places you have to crawl through narrow rock passages in complete darkness to reach, places where no natural light has ever existed. Someone took a torch into total darkness, squeezed their body through rock, went as deep as they could go, and painted something where almost nobody would ever see it. Not for an audience, not for survival, not for any practical reason anyone has ever been able to fully explain. That is a human so driven to make something, to put some piece of themselves into the world, that they crawled into the dark just to do it. Boredom made them artists, and then there are the objects. Carved figurines, decorated bones, shells with holes drilled through them, worn as jewelry 70,000 years ago. A 40,000-year-old ivory statue of a lion-headed human found in a cave in Germany that researchers estimate would have taken 400 hours to produce. 400 hours to carve a small statue that had no practical function whatsoever, that couldn't feed anyone, that couldn't protect anyone, that did nothing except exist. Someone sat there, over many days or possibly weeks, in a world where survival was genuinely uncertain, carefully working that object into existence, not because it helped them live, not because anyone asked them to, because their mind refused to stay empty, and their hands needed something to do, and somewhere deep in them was an impulse that said make something. That impulse is still in you. You feel it when you doodle without thinking, when you rearrange things on a desk, when you hum a melody you've never heard before. It's the same thing, completely unchanged, 40,000 years later, and it hasn't moved an inch. Now here's where the story takes a turn nobody saw coming. Because what those ancient humans were accidentally doing in their boredom, sitting quietly, letting their minds wander, making things with no purpose, we've only just figured out how to explain in the last 20 years. Neuroscientists studying what happens in the brain when people are bored discovered something that genuinely surprised them. When external stimulation drops, a specific network of brain regions activates. They call it the default mode network, and what it does during boredom is not nothing. It is not your brain idling. It runs simulations of futures that haven't happened yet. It rehearses conversations. It makes unexpected connections between things that seem completely unrelated. It imagines what other people are thinking and feeling. It generates ideas from nothing. The default mode network is where creativity lives, where empathy lives, where problem-solving lives, where every original thought you have ever had in your entire life came from. And here is the part that should genuinely bother you. It only fully activates when you're bored. Studies have found that people who regularly allow themselves to experience boredom, who sit with that uncomfortable, restless feeling instead of immediately killing it, score significantly higher on creative thinking tests than people who fill every moment with stimulation. The fidgety, uncomfortable, skin-crawling feeling of having nothing to do is not your brain malfunctioning. It is not a problem to be solved. It is your brain shifting into its most powerful and generative state. Your ancestors had no choice but to sit with that feeling for hours every single night. And in those hours they painted cave walls and carved impossible statues and told stories that became religions and invented music and ritual and language and every single thing that separates human civilization from every other species that has ever walked this planet. Every great idea in human history, every invention, every philosophy, every work of art, every breakthrough, came from a mind that had enough empty space to let something unexpected grow inside it. And now look at what we've done with that space. Every gap, every quiet moment, every waiting room, and walk alone and 30 seconds between one thing and the next. We've filled all of it, completely, stuffed it with content and noise and stimulation until there is no empty space left anywhere in the day, and we tell ourselves that's progress, that being constantly entertained is a luxury our ancestors would have killed for. Maybe. But our ancestors also crawled into the dark with a torch and painted something on a wall that outlasted every civilization that came after them. They didn't have anything to do, so they made something instead. And we have more things to do than any human in history, more content than we could consume in 1,000 lifetimes, more stimulation available in our pockets at every moment of every day. And somehow we've never felt more empty. The next time you're bored and your hand moves toward your phone before you've even registered the feeling, just know what you're actually doing. You're not filling time. You're closing a door. The same door your ancestors walked through every single night for 300,000 years and came back out the other side carrying something new. We traded that door for a screen, and most of us will never even know what was on the other side.